We're going to have a look at races 8 through 11 in from Riccarton Park today. And we're going to chat to Stephen Hunt in just a moment about the movements in the markets, and then we'll have Greg O'Connor's thoughts around the late quaddie. Stephen, Riccarton Park today, anything significant happening?
Yeah, races prior to the quaddie, which we'll touch on the back end of the quaddie. Obviously, race 2, we've already mentioned this a number of times throughout the show. Sacred Quartz remains $1.70, 1,200 odd multis running through him. So it's a real important stage between bookies v Punters in the next at Riccarton. And race 5, Miss Durella, opened at $12, Matt, now into $9.50, Miss Durella. So keep an eye on that horse and where that price finishes up midway through the card. And race 7, the Cup Trial, again, I mentioned this at the top of the show, the lack of money around Blue Lagoon. Who dares wins? From what I'm seeing, Punters, that's the horse you want to be on, where Blue Lagoon is very much vulnerable later on today.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. To Greg O'Connor now. Race number 8 on the card is the first race we're taking a look at. Greg, starts the late quaddie. Some handy gallopers resuming through the later part of your card.
Yeah, there certainly is. When you have a Derby winner on track anywhere, you look forward to that race, and that's what we've got with Rangi Po here today, albeit a couple of seasons ago now, but he's a $26 chance in the Copeland's Mile here in about 7 or 8 weeks' time. And although he hasn't won over the 1,200 metres, I'm sure he'll be very competitive here. I'm expecting Sensei to be the one to beat. The video we're going to have a look at is back to Boxing Day at Wingatui, just to show you how good he can be. And he's always shown plenty. He's been able to line up in open handicaps as 3-year-old, and he's always had a big rap on him from Team Pittman. He'll be the standout horse of the day in terms of how he looks, and if he races like he did on this occasion, then he'll go very close, particularly with Tina Komenahi claiming the 2.
The Summon of Dream Ahead starts to pull clear. The Sparkle fights on. Kiwi Ida out and coming late. The Sensei, beautiful win. Photo for the second and third.
Yeah, I expect him to be winning today. Spoke to Michael Pittman last night at the function here for the South Island Racing Awards, and he said he's as good as we can have him, and he's $1.65 in from $1.80 as of late yesterday afternoon. Rangi Po at $5. I think you need to put it on your ticket. Class generally prevails. He's won the 7 races, as we know, the Derby, and over $700,000. So yeah, he's a bona fide chance. Signify doesn't often win fresh up, or never has, to be fair. And with Kate Cowan's claim, it's still a fair old impulse, 58 kilos. So yeah, I expect him to be competitive. But in terms of the quaddie, Matthew, I think we just stick around the 2, and yeah, Sensei's very short, but I think he'll be winning today.
4 from 13 is price. They broke 110 in the first, and we know that he's certainly capable of doing that the way that the race played in the first of the day. Race number 9 is the second leg of the quaddie. It is for the 3-year-old fillies. It is the New Zealand Bloodstock Canterbury Bell Stakes to be run over 1,200 metres. Weaker force, 280, 135. Emily Margaret, 550 and $2. Stephen Hunt, we had Thad Taylor on the first call yesterday suggesting that Emily Margaret was somewhat of a liability. How's the market shaped since we spoke to Thad yesterday?
Yeah, a little bit more support for Weaker Force, saying that they basically match dollar for dollar, the 1 and the 4, the 4 and the 1. Weaker Force 3 into 280, Emily Margaret 580 into 550. Overall, I think their price as it stands now is very solid without too much movement in the next hour or so. But again, I should mention, dollar for dollar, Emily Margaret's right up there with Weaker Force. Love Lucy, the stablemate of Weaker Force. Friendless can't write a ticket, 650 out to 7. There's a possibility that horse could even start higher. A couple they're specking in the market are Thunder Bay, number 10, $21 currently, a losing result. But yeah, a lot of traction and a lot of momentum will stick with the 1 and the 4 in Weaker Force and Emily Margaret.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the speed map for this 1,200 metres. You would imagine they'll run the first portion of the race at a pretty decent tempo. Pick me up in Rio on wetter tracks. Greg O'Connor had been showing plenty of early pace. I suppose the question around the daughter of Captain Rio, who's been an inward mover in the market for Kevin James and Kylie Williams, is what can she do on a better surface today?
Yeah, I spoke to Kevin James last night again at the South Island Racing Awards, and he did say to me, look, she's ready to go to the races. The trial was okay, but he does expect her to improve. And saying that, I'm sure she'll show really good speed off the machine, but I expect Weaker Force to be right in the firing line. I know she's got a wide draw. We'll hear from Tony Pike leading into race number 2, and I know you guys have talked to him today. This is up on speed. Last time, of course, at Ruakaka, beaten by Melt, who's subsequently gone on and won the North South Island breeders. All of the form is very strong around Weka Force, and I think she's a terrific bet. $3 into $2.80. I'm not surprised by that. May even start slightly shorter if money continues to come for it. The biggest threat will be Emily Margaret and Love Lucy, and we'll have a look at Emily Margaret, the South Island form. It was a brave performance there by Weka Force, and we saw Love Lucy was luckless, making good ground, although I'm thinking once she gets to a bit further, she'll be more potent, and Weka Force might just have the advantage. Here's Emily Margaret down the centre of the track here. She could not have been more impressive than on this day. When you consider she beat William James, who's a bona fide Albasti Equiworld 2000 chance for the South Island, and beat him pretty comfortably under her own steam. She was very, very good. She's well bred, she's by pins, and I think she'll be very competitive again. I reckon the best roughie might be Thunder Bay. You only have to think about his run here, rather her run here in the Welcome Stakes behind Alhassa. Like, if she produced that again, Matthew, she would be competitive. But I'm up the top of the book here. I think Tony Pike will have a very good day here. The 7 runners in, and I think he'll win the feature, the New Zealand Bloodstock Canterbury Bell Stakes.
Okay, and of course track conditions and the way that the track has been playing, especially over the 1200 metre races today, are going to be poignant as we get to the feature later on. They run better than 110 off the front, with Cadrona winning race number 1. To the penultimate of the afternoon, it is race number 10 at Riccarton Park. The Pride's easy feed over 1200 metres. This is for the rating 65 gallopers. Parvina from the Tony Pike base, $4.51.85. Conclusion $7. And Remington for Jamie Richards and Nick McBakar claiming 4 kilos, $6.50 and $2.40. Stephen Hunt, can you give us a lead into race number 10 with any of these?
What I can say, Matt, punters are prepared to take on Parvina in early betting. This market's been open for almost 24 hours, Matt, and at $4.50 it's held its opening line, Parvina. Look, in turnover holds the most amount of money, Parvina, without getting out of hand or out of control here in Petone to bring its price in. And like I mentioned earlier, they are prepared to back a few to beat it. Remington in conclusion, $6.50, $7 to 2 stablemates. Hard to give a lead out of those two, which one might be the number 1 seed from the Jamie Richards stable, but at $6.57, both of them have admirers. Strowan only won the 2 from 23, so not a flash strike rate, but at $19 we posted yesterday afternoon. It's now trading at 15s. And also Red River Rock, another horse that resumes, which a lot of horses do in this particular race. Could have got 31s, now trading at 21. And Beneficial, if there was one in that middle market that I'm just keeping a bit of a close eye on throughout the afternoon, that is the runner number 6, Beneficial. The stable have a decent opinion on this runner. It ran in a couple of black type races last season, the back end of the autumn. One of the best backed in the middle market at $11.50.
Okay, Stephen, we hand it over to Greg O'Connor now with the speed map. Greg, there's one horse I'm interested in here, and it's Fire Show. Raced around last start and behind Frankie the Fox. Pulled up sore, so I'd be interested to see if there's any word on track as to where this horse is at odds. But take your pick with the speed map here. There's a bit happening early.
This is a nightmare. If you can take as many possible here, Matthew, to get you through this leg of the quaddie. Just news on Fire Show. We heard from Mark Davidson before with regards to that, and yeah, has been vet checked and passed to run here. This is an open go, but I'm with Stephen Hunt around Beneficial and can see why there's money for her, trained by a very astute man in Ross Beckett. And if we go and have a look at one of her best performances, those 2 stakes races, this one, the New Zealand Bloodstock Insurance here at Riccarton Park, weaves through, and I still think to this day she won. I thought she had got there, but Respin had held on for the win. That's her back to the inside and just charges through late, and I really thought she was going to get home in the predominantly yellow colours there. Respin did hold on, but Beneficial's performance is very, very good. And the late charge here, Beneficial, even on that video there, it still tells me she got up, but the photo finish told us otherwise. And I know she's fresh up here, but I just know how good a trainer, if there's such a word as good a trainer, Matthew Ross Beckett is. He'll have her ready and she'll be very competitive. But there's so many horses resuming here, and you just need to take a spread, and I suggest you do.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're meaning about Ross Beckett. You certainly respect his runners when they make their way to the races, and you would imagine off its last campaign that there'd be a little bit of improvement there as she starts to grow into herself. As we head to the last race on the card at Riccarton Park today, we're previewing with Greg O'Connor and Stephen Hunt here on the Punters Lounge live, wide awake. Well, hopefully by 19 minutes after 5, you're wide awake and you've had a good day on the punt. You get 4 kilos off here in the last, courtesy of Nick Bakar. 4.64 Director. Resplendent Glory's an interesting runner. First up from Hong Kong, 12 and $3.80. Stephen Hunt, nobody missed the trial of Director. Is the money suggesting that people are taking a good lead from that?
Not really, Matt. Look, a stable that in the past, in the last 2 or 3 seasons, it is a betting stable. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to beat around the bush here around Brian Court's stable, and in particular this runner Director. No first up record or fresh up record to go by, so maybe we've overrated the horse resuming here in Director. It is cold out of the top 3 or 4 in the betting. Director, $4.50 posted, equal favourite with Wide Awake. It's now to $4.60 and $11 on the tote. Maybe it's going to fit somewhere between our current price and the tote from what I'm seeing. Wide Awake, best back runner at $4.50 for the powerful Jamie Richards stable. Lady Chalice, who did the business when resuming a few weeks back, bet a good sort in Hot Fuss on that occasion. At $10.50 we posted. It's now in 1 full point to $9.50, Lady Chalice. And Corabella, that's the one, the middle market that they're speccing right as soon as as betting commenced during the week. Corabella, one of the best back runners in a middle market up and down the country today, resumes here, opened at 17s, got as short as 13s. The money continued at that price, now trading at $11.
She's been a good result for punters in the past. Double figure odds has Corabella around Riccarton Park before. We'll take a look at the speed map. Over 1,400 for the rating 72 gallopers. Director to press forward with Zarista on the inside. And a horse who knows his way around Riccarton Park, Greg O'Connor, jumps from barrier number 5 and goes by the name of Forged.
He's a very hard horse to beat in the last. As we'll see, I've made him the horse to back on an each-way basis as the day unfolds. There's a few of them, but I reckon he's terrific value at around that $12 quote. He'll be up on the speed. He's got a record second up too, and we know Mike McCann's horses race very, very well wherever they go, but this horse particularly races well here at Riccarton Park. Has been a winner on a Premier Day. I think it was Cup Day last year, to be absolutely fair. So I think Forged is in the mix, but Wide Awake's nominated for the Copeland's Bakery Mile, and of course there's about a $50 chance in that, so has to be competitive in a rating 72, otherwise you wouldn't be going to that. He's Our Secret's also nominated for the Mile, and Director, gotta love the way this horse has been trialling and got to a point where Brian Court's happy to come to the races. So, yeah, you'd have to consider it. What about in terms of the quaddie? Well, you could anchor Sensei if you wanted to be brave, but I've decided to take a couple in that first leg and include Rangipo. You wouldn't want to be sitting here, watch a race like that and go, I left the Derby winner out. So definitely got it in. Wicker Force and Love Lucy, just a bit of cover there. Again, I'd be happy to take Wicker Force on her own. I think she is extremely hard to beat, and you've got to have a spread in races 10 and 11 for that matter, but definitely race number 10 is as wide as I think you want to go in terms of the quaddie. Take as many as you possibly can. Best bet of the day, I think Sacred Courts will win the next race, and so do the punters, and continues to be heavily backed, as Stephen has alluded to. So I think Sacred Courts. I've mentioned Forged and the reason why. Of course, we've got the 11 races here, so that might be my bad. It is race number 11, number 1 in Forged. So on a value way to play, and once again, $100 has dropped in, Matthew, so we've come up with a $100 spend. I reckon you can play a nice multi. Sacred Courts into Sacred Delight and Sensei, $50. When I did it before, it came back about $280. And if you back Forged in the last, 10 to win and 40 a place. Particularly on the place value, I think the $3.80 represents great money. So that's the way I'd play the $100 here at Riccarton Park today. But it's just hard, some of the races, Matthew, given we've been racing predominantly on rain-affected ground. And today, we not only come up with a firm track, we have a whole lot of horses resuming. So do your homework, you need to.
Yeah, we certainly will. Thanks, Greg, and look forward to your input alongside of Mark McNamara through the card today from Riccarton Park. We're about to wrap up the Punters Lounge live with Valachi down, standing Savile Row and Zakinto. Just before we go, one last piece of information from Stephen Hunt. What are the 2 best back runners on the card at each of our meeting today, Stephen?
Well, one's just over 10 minutes time in Sacred Courts. Now $1.65, Matt, from an opening line, $1.95. So a very important time when it comes to punters v bookies. And then also up at Hastings, the Group 1, the Windsor Park Plate, Melody Bell continues to be the best back runner at the $4 line from an opening line of $4.50. And Mental Telepathy, now this is a key runner being the first, kicks off everybody's multis at $4. I should stress it's a very important time, the first race, when you've got a hot favourite. If it doesn't do the job, then punters have to reset and refresh their multi. So Mental Telepathy, a big go in the first. And quickly, Matt, in the Group 1 today, we do have a top 5 market, an option 418.
Okay, Stephen, thanks so much for your time and all the best today. Enjoy it.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you.
There's Stephen Hunt. Let's take a look at the Valachi Downs runners for today. Of course, our sponsors on board with the Punters Lounge live today at Caulfield in race number 7 for the Ellerton Zara team. They have Odeon by Zakinto. Baby Manaka travels in race number 4 at Riccarton Park. The daughter of Zed, the very much informed sire, John and Karen Parsons, will wear the Valachi Downs colours. And Suffragette, who's not without a chance, in race number 9 is Zakinto for Andrew Carston. Heads around in the 9th on the card.